starting the webinar. We'll be starting the webinar at the top of the hour. Okay, it looks like we have people still signing in, but we're going to go ahead and kick this off as we are at the top of the hour. First off, thank you all for joining us today. We're super excited to talk to you about Brown University's online MPH program. We do have a Q&A feature as well as a chat feature attached to this webinar. So please pop in the chat. Tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're visiting us from, what's going on in your area, what the weather's like, anything. We just want to get to know you as we chat through our topics today. We have a lot to share about the MPH program, but we'd like to jump right into the presentation. So a little bit about what we're going to talk through today. We're really going to be focusing on the online MPH overview, and that's really benefits, outcomes, why this program is unique and what really sets it apart from other programs. We're also going to talk to you about application steps and requirements, scholarship opportunities, and who you can reach out to for help. We're also, we have several questions that we're actually going to be walking through, but please remember to pop your additional questions into that Q&A feature, and we'll make sure to answer those at the end of the webinar. All right, we see someone from Florida. All right. Oh, chat is disabled. I apologize. Thanks so much for that information. Please let me know if it works now. Somebody wants to try that out. As we're waiting, again, make sure to pop your questions into that Q&A and we'll get those answered for you. While we're talking through and getting this chat re-enabled, which I'll do actually as soon as I'm done chatting, let me talk to you about your presenters for the day. So first up, we have Matt Wallace, who is the Assistant Director of Student Recruitment and Marketing at Brown University. Matt has been at Brown for about 3 years and has several high-level enrollment positions prior to joining the Brown team. He really helps a lot with graduate admissions at Brown, and he's very familiar with the application process. So he's going to be a great resource for some of you moving forward from this webinar.
Thank you. Happy to be here. And I just want to give a shout out to the person from Miami, Florida, where I used to live as well. Shout out to Coral Gables. I don't know where in Miami you're at, but I miss the food.
Wonderful. Thanks, Matt. Next up is Dr. Jennifer Nazarino, and she is the inaugural Associate Director of the Online MPH program here at Brown University. She's been at Brown for about 8 years. She spent 2 as a postdoc and then became faculty, and now is the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and Innovation. She has a really long history in the public health industry and prior experience in long-term care and healthcare related systems. In addition, she's busy. In addition to her work at Brown as a faculty member, she's also the co-director of the Philippine Health Initiative for Research, Service, and Training. So we're very, very grateful to have Jen here today to answer questions about the program as well.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Jen. Lastly, we have Kim Blowski, and she is an enrollment coach for Brown University. So she's been in the higher ed industry for over 13 years. And her focus is really on helping adult students enroll in graduate programs. Kim and her team are really going to be your go-to for helping you raise your hand saying, hey, I'm really interested in this program. I want to learn more. She'll help shepherd you through the process and help answer any of your questions. There's Kim. And last but not least, I want to say welcome to Anastasia Babb. She's the admissions admissions coordinator for Brown University. She's new to Brown, but has a really extensive experience in higher education as well. So welcome, Stacy, to the chat.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Okay, so as we go through today, again, please pop your questions and comments in the chat or in the Q&A. We're really looking forward to a very engaging experience. And so the more questions you ask, the more questions we can help answer, and just ensuring that you are as comfortable and familiar with this program as you possibly can be. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Jen to start the presentation.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I see someone's joining us from California. I'm currently in California, so welcome, San Diego. So what makes Brown's online MPH unique? I do want to really highlight that we are case-based in terms of we weave cases throughout our curriculum. I think that's very distinctive. Not many MPH programs do that. Case-based learning is really focused on, looking at real-world examples and thinking through those public health challenges where students come together from interdisciplinary backgrounds and really look at it from different angles and hoping to come up with solutions moving forward. Another highlight of our program is that it's 100% online, particularly in the asynchronous space where it gives you that flexibility to learn at your pace, but we do have optional synchronous weekly sessions so that you meet with your faculty every week. So I really think a major strength is that we're still very high touch. Yes, it's async, but weekly meetings with your faculty member, it lasts about an hour to an hour and a half, where faculty do an overview of the past week's readings or case examples. It's just a way for you to touch base with faculty as well as your peers in the class. In terms of a curriculum, we have 2 courses really focused on leadership. We think that leadership is a big part of being, of solving large public health challenges and learning these skill sets around leadership, as well as communications. We have a communications course. So in addition to the foundational courses in public health, like social determinants of health, like interventions, evaluations, biostats, epidemiology. We strongly believe here at Brown, particularly in our School of Public Health, that leadership and communication is just as important. Also curriculum, in terms of the smaller, we do have small class sizes. We do range from having students that are like in classes where there's students that are in classes where there's 40 students to about 60 to 70 students. And then competitive price point. Compared to other IVs, I would say that I firmly say that we are very affordable compared to the other IVs that are offering MPH degrees in the online space. And then that equates to $60K, $5,000 per course. I do want to also put out there that we provide merit-based scholarships in the form of 33%, 50%, and 100%. All right.
Is this me?
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, I think we're going to kick it over to Matt to talk through
All right,
the
cool.
admissions checklist.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. And you could tell the passion in Jen's voice. We're so lucky to have Jen as the leader of this program. And she highlighted things like the case-based learning, which I just think is so dope because, I mean, it's really learner centered. And you're not going to find that in a lot of programs. It's kind of an innovative way to learn a program. You're using real data, real cases to solve these issues, which I think is, far superior to the traditional approach. So thanks, Jen. So what do you need? What do you need to apply? Because you got to get all these facts down, right? So you need a bachelor's degree, at least 2 years of professional experience prior to the start date. You'll need your CV, 3 letters of recommendation, a personal statement. This is really going to be the way that you differentiate yourself from the crowd, right? Explain why you're passionate about public health, why Brown, what you want to do after Brown, what you're trying to practice in the world of public health. What do you want to solve? And just be yourself. That's kind of part of Brown's ethos anyway. We want you to be able to learn, live, and thrive as your 100% authentic self. So in your personal statement, just be you. It's so much more about are we good enough for you, then are you good enough for us? Believe us. So the admissions committees look at it and they're saying, hey, do we have the resources? Do we have the connections? Do we have the type of program that this person needs to be successful so they can fulfill their goals? It's not the other way around. So P.S. Everybody in the chat are saying places that I've lived, like Vancouver, Canada, I've lived. San Diego, I went to school there. Miami. So I feel like I have like a personal affiliation, you know, affinity towards everybody that's here right now. Temecula. It's funny that she said Temecula too, because a lot of people from Temecula just say San Diego because nobody knows where the heck Temecula is. UCSD, very nice. So yeah, shout out to everybody here. Application fee. So this is lower. So we've made some improvements actually. So the application used to be in SOFAs and now it's in Slate. And it's way better now that it's in Slate because the application fee is less. You don't need official transcripts right off the bat. You can submit your unofficials. So that's another way to cost save. So it's a lot easier and a lot more student focused. Again, initiative that was taken by Jen. Yeah, you can complete your application at that link right there. And then, yeah, international applicants whose native language isn't English, you'll have to submit proof of language proficiency. Riverside, nice. I love that. Yeah, so you'll have to submit like either your IELTS or your TOEFL if you came from a country that's not a native speaking country. Like, for instance, there's a lot of exceptions like Ghana, Nigeria. And then if you've received your post-secondary degree in English as well, you don't need to provide TOEFL or IELTS either. And then a West transcript evaluation if you earned your undergrad outside of the US. And now I will pass things over to the Q&A. Yes. Is there assistance available for the application fee?
Kim, do you want to take this one?
Matt, do you want to take that?
I would if I knew. So we changed things. So we used to have these application fee waivers, right, that we gave away now, and they were limited. Now I don't know. Now that we've moved to Slate, I'm not exactly sure what the process is as far as getting an application fee waiver. Kim might be the expert to hand this one off to.
Sure, no problem. Well, the cool thing is as you can see on the slide, we actually, committee has come together, the faculty have come together and said, we're gonna actually waive your application fee for anyone who submits their application prior to close of business this Saturday, July 15th. Now, we know that's not a whole lot of time. Some of you have already gotten started on your application. That's fantastic. Please know you can actually submit your application while still waiting on those 3 letters of recommendation. Those are a little bit out of your control. We understand that. Everything that is in your control, you need to get submitted to your application and try and hit that deadline. You're saving yourself $100. That's huge. And then beyond that, what I would encourage you to do is talk to myself as one of the enrollment coaches. There's also Katie and there's Kristen. And yes, we are all K names. It's not a plot or a mystery, but we all have K names in this and as enrollment coaches. So please make sure you talk to one of us. We'll help guide you through that application fee waiver.
Great, thank you, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
On to the next question. Who should I ask for a letter of recommendation? Jen, did you want to take this one?
Sure. So we really do, I'll just put it, I am a part of the admissions committee. We really read through your recommendations. I will say, definitely get folks that can really highlight your strengths, highlight your passion, and for why you want to do the online MPH. And why now, you know, like, and just can really speak highly of you. I will say we have gotten letters of rec that have been maybe 1 or 2 lines it looks poorly that that person didn't take the time to actually write you at least a paragraph or two of why this is a good program or good fit for you. It could be from your professors, but let's say some of you haven't been in touch with your professors because you've been out of school for 10 years. So we understand that. We do consider that. And so if folks that who have are your employers, your supervisors, colleagues, that we would really appreciate to hear from their perspective of why the MPH is a good fit for this next step in your career.
Okay, thank you. What should I include in my personal statement?
I'll take this as well. So I want to share with you that we do a holistic review of applications. So a holistic review is that we look at not just your GPA, not just the courses you've taken, but really why Brown, why now, why in this online space? Why does this work for you? Why would you want to do an MPH, and why in this modality? So definitely, this is your time to brag about yourself, your accomplishments, you know, whether there's folks that already have a public health background or have taken public health courses, and they highlight that and they talk about that, how that's inspired them, how that's shaped their current work experience, and or those who, yes, public health wasn't what they did in their undergrad, but since they've done whatever they've done in whatever industry, they have now want to pivot into public health. Well, tell us why. Why do you want to now come into public health? And be specific, right? Because there's sometimes we do get general personal statements, and it reads that way, to be quite honest. So it's just, we really want to read about and learn about you. All right. So what do you plan to achieve while you're getting your MPH with us? And what do you want to do professionally after your MPH? So highlight, like, with this degree, this will help me do this. This will help me and to go on to elevate myself in my current industry, or because I'm wanting to pivot into public health and my ultimate goal is to do this. And we want to hear that. We want to know, and that will set you apart versus broad general statements about public health. We are, just to let you know, there's 7 or 8 faculty members in our admissions committee. We know what public health is. We want to know what public health is to you and how it benefits you and how you want to serve in public health. So really important to write detailed personal statement. We've seen some shorter, sometimes personal statements. That is not what we want. You to take your time. We really want you to take your time and be detailed and specific.
I would like to jump to the Q&A quickly. Someone did ask a question in regard to this, and they said, are candidates holistically evaluated, or does GPA play the most important role? And as Jen said, it is a holistic evaluation.
Right. So we understand. I actually, and many of us here have said this in previous webinars, is that when we see someone that maybe during that first part of undergrad didn't do so well, but then towards the second half did better, we see that as a strength. We see folks that have come through community college and now are coming, did their undergrad, now applying to an Ivy. We see that as a strength. We want to hear from you. We want you to apply to our university. So don't feel that, okay, well, I didn't do as well, but within in your undergrad or in community college, but you've had this plethora of work experience. That is why we require work experience. We do not bring in students into this program that don't have at least 2 years work experience. And on average, our students come in with at least 5 to 10.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too. That was beautifully said, Jen, because really, if you show, the students that have shown resiliency and have overcome obstacles tend to do better in the program. So there's no shame in overcoming these things. And as long as your trajectory is moving up, you don't always have to have a perfect 4.0 GPA. Now, that being said, grades are important because it's Brown, right? It's rigorous. The academics are rigorous, and we want to set you up for success. So that's really the only reason why grades are important, but it's definitely a holistic review. And that actually we can answer. I think there's another question in the chat that asks about professional experience, right? Do you definitely need 2 years? So although we strongly recommend at least 2 years of professional experience, we're going to look at your entire application and holistically. So we make exceptions, considering what your situation is and everything like that. So yeah, when we say holistic, we mean holistic.
Yeah, and then I see that, so for the 2 years of professional, I am disabled, so it has not been full-time. So write that in your personal statement or add an addendum, right? Like, so, we've seen students do this as well. Explain, during my 3rd year, I didn't do as well in this course or that course because I was taking care of a loved one, because someone had passed on in my family, or I had to work 2 jobs, or and in this case, you were disabled. Explain that, put an addendum to your personal statement, and we will read that. We will read that statement and we'll consider it.
Can I also add, because there's another question here about the personal statement. We understand that admissions are holistic, and this is a statement used by most elite schools, but how has the recent SCOTUS ruling changed your admissions philosophy? And I'm glad that this is brought up, because this is a really unfortunate ruling that the SCOTUS has passed. And we are doing everything that we can. I mean, obviously, Brown University is it's foundational, that diversity and inclusion is foundational in our ethos and our mission. And it's foundational in public health as well. So it's important that we diversify our student body, our faculty, our school, and public health leadership as much as we possibly can. And this SCOTUS here, decision can really, put a wrench in plans. However, that being said, although we can no longer use race and ethnicity as part of our decision-making process in the admissions committees, please feel free to tell your story, express your identity, who you are in your personal statement. That cannot be redacted to the admissions committees. So if you choose to give that information any which way you can, that will help the admissions committees. Yeah, thank you for that question.
And Matt, along those same lines, how long should the personal statement be? I know there's not a minimum or a maximum, but just general guidelines.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, or the rest of the team. I think 750 words is good. Yeah. I think that's kind of around that area is kind of the money length, but really make it your own. You want it to be a concise narrative. You don't want to say too little, but you also don't want to be it was a cold December morning when I was born in Kentucky, and I could hear the horses outside, and it's just goes on forever. So something in the middle. I think 750 words is pretty good.
Right. And I do want to add, and specific to Brown, I know you're applying to multiple programs, but when we see that it's not that, I'm applying for a master's in health administration, I'm like, oh, not our program. So just make sure to edit, and we understand that you're applying to other programs, but take some time to look at our website, take some time to get to know who we are. And then based on that, I hope that helps you feel that this is the right program for you, and then showcase that in your personal statement.
Right, okay, next question. This kind of has already been answered, but do I really need 2 years of work experience?
Oh, yeah. Yes. And if you want, somebody else had mentioned, if you've been disabled or what have you, yes, we'll read that addendum, but at least 2 years of work experience is what we're looking for, just because we want in the conversations, in the courses where students are coming in, talking about their different industry backgrounds, or bringing in that kind of real world work experience. It just strengthens the conversation. It just adds this really rigorous perceptions and perspectives that each student brings. And so we would want to continue that. And so we do expect to have at least 2 years work experience. And on average, I would say that we have students that have at least 5 to 10.
Thank you. And there is a lot of questions in the chat about scholarships. So Kim, I'll let you talk about this slide, and then we'll hop into some of the questions from the participants.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So as far as Jen actually touched on this, so for this particular program, we have merit-based scholarships. And the way it works is thankfully, you don't have to do an additional application for one of these scholarships. The committee has just kind of embedded it into their overall holistic. I'm going to use that because it's super, super important on how they approach not only admissions, but these scholarship opportunities. And so when the committee is reviewing your packet for an admissions decision, they're using that same packet and they're using that same approach to determine if you're eligible for a merit-based scholarship. And as Jen had mentioned, these are going to range from 33% to 50% to 100% in some cases. I'll be honest, the 100% is incredibly rare. You are going to have to be an exceptional candidate for that 100% merit-based scholarship. But the cool thing is you will actually be notified if you are receiving a particular scholarship. You're going to be notified at the same time you're notified of your admissions decision. So you're going to have all the information you need up front to determine if this is the right fit for you, if you've been accepted into the program. And I'll tell you this, committee is incredibly generous with their awarding of scholarships. It's not like you're competing for just a handful of scholarships. They have been very, very generous over since the beginning of this program. And as of right now, we run at about a 50% acceptance rate into the program. That alone is huge as well for an Ivy League school and an Ivy League program. So really, when Matt and Jen have said, be thoughtful in your approach to your personal statement, to those letters of recommendation, you want people who are going to speak really well on your behalf, because the committee does look at that. If you've asked somebody to write a letter of intent for you or a letter of recommendation for you, and they put down 2 sentences, you have not chosen wisely. I'll tell you that. You really need to know the people you're asking, and you need to have had some very strong relational opportunities with them. So be wise in that, be thoughtful in who you choose. Your resume is going to speak for itself. And you know, on that last slide, what we could see is that committee will look at exceptional candidates. Now, that's the exception, right? That's not the rule. So the rule is 2 years minimum of professional work experience, because as Jen said, it creates a totally different dynamic in the classroom. And the experience is going to be invaluable as you share your experience and you learn from your classmates. So just know that there are some great scholarships. Know that committee is as generous as they possibly can be with these scholarships. And again, be incredibly wise and thoughtful in how you put together your application packet.
Yeah, that's perfect, Kim. And I'll just add on to that as well, as far as the online MPH program. So total, it's like around 60,000. That's like 30,000 less than the in-person MPH at Brown. And you're going to get the exact same degree. So it's really an awesome opportunity, especially if you're a busy person, where you can take it 100% online and get the exact same degree for 30,000 less than you would if you were going in person. So I just think that's a big bonus as well.
But I do want to do a plug-in for the in-person. The in-person, definitely they have concentrations that we don't have. So in the online MPH, it is a generalist MPH. So if you're looking to concentrate in something like biostatistics or EPI or health, I mean, Matt, I know there's global health, there's other concentrations. Then look at our in-person program. But if you look through our courses and you want a generalist MPH degree, then this is the program that would be the best fit for you.
Okay. We have a ton of questions that we actually are going to run through here, but if there are questions that we come across today that are not available or that we don't get to, please reach out to the enrollment team. And we'll pop this information in the chat as well so you have it. But Kim, go ahead and give a little bit of an example on things that you love to talk to people about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. So all of us are talkers. All of us Ks are talkers for sure. But more than anything, we really want to get to know you. And so if all you want to do is address your questions, that's fine. Absolutely. We will help you the best that we possibly can and help you through the process and kind of keep you focused and on track. But if you want to share your stories with us and why you want to pursue an MPH, and you want to hear my passion and Katie's passion and Kristen's passion for this particular program, then we're happy to share that with you for sure. I think, as Kelsey had said in the beginning, I've been in higher education for 13, 14 years at this point, and by far, this is the best program that I have ever worked for. And I'm not blowing smoke, and I'm not trying to, pat Jen on the head or anything, but it's true, because I think one thing I really see in this program and from the faculty and the committee and the staff is they really care, and they want you to be able to make a difference, and they want to be able to help you achieve your goals. And I certainly can't say that about all the schools that I've worked for. So I just am super high on this particular program, but it's important for us to get to know you. I have several applicants who've just applied on their own, and unfortunately they end up missing out on a document, or they miss out on a potential deadline, or saving of an application fee or whatever. So just connect with us in some fashion. We're great with chat, we're great on the phone, and we're great with email. So any way that works for you.
Okay, great, thank you. Now to our Q&A. We have a ton of questions to get to, and I'm really excited about a bunch of them. So I'm just going to tee them up, and then Brown team, feel free to answer as they come through. The first one I wanted to address is that there is a question about doing informal interviews or viewing testimonials from other students. And I love that you asked this question, because we actually do a follow-up webinar that you get to meet Brown students and you get to talk to them. And we do one with faculty as well. So I would highly encourage you to attend those. If for some reason you can't make that webinar, I'm sure Kim and her team would love to coordinate time for you to speak with the student as well. But I just want to plug that there will be a student question and answer webinar that will be coming up in the next couple of months. Okay. On to the first question. I love this one. What does the ideal Brown student like for this program look like? What kind of leadership roles is Brown looking to fill in the industry? Jen, do you want to take
I love that. I love that. So, you know what, I want to share this. I think the strength of our program is that we bring in students from very different backgrounds. So it's very interdisciplinary. So what we want is for public health, and I think what we saw during COVID was that in some ways public health was siloed. It's like people were like, what is public health? Oh, this is public health. And so what we want and hope and plan for is that students from very different backgrounds, different disciplines, to attain the knowledge, the skill sets in public health, and bring it back to your industry perspective, your industry. We want to be able to weave public health in all parts of our lives, all parts of different industries. So we definitely have, yes, we have folks that are in public health, work in the academic setting, in the community-based setting, in hospital settings, in nonprofit orgs, and think tanks. But then we also have folks that are coming to us that say, you know what, I'm an attorney, but I really care about healthcare. It impacts my patients, impacts my clients. I want to really bring in public health to my line of work. We have folks that are not just coming as clinicians. We have folks that are coming from the marketing side, communication side, and actually really feel that public health or healthcare is something that they became either personally interested in because of COVID, or something happened to them personally, or that they're just thinking of our society in a different way. And so they just were like, I want to really attain these skill sets to really speak more and think through what is the impact of public health in my communities, and how do I impact my communities in a certain way, right? And so Matt, I know you're shaking hand. Do you want to add to that?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, public health, wherever there's people, there's public health, right? And so like Jen said, if you want to bring it into whatever you're doing, you can do that. And that's the beauty of public health. So yeah, I 100%.
Yeah, I want to share, like, we have students that are in public health that I think they want to get into, become a physician. We see that they want to eventually get into the MD space. We also have students who are like, I want to really be part of the healthcare startup or a healthcare corporation, and I want to bring in the public health lens to that. And so we have folks that then meet with other students that actually have healthcare startups or even run companies, and then they meet that way. And the kind of purposeful networking that happens in our program is really, it's just really wonderful to see, is that students are meeting each other in ways that they just are meeting other peers that they never thought they would have met otherwise, but because our program has brought them to think about public health, whether it impacts them personally, professionally, or just their communities, and all of it.
Yeah.
Above all, it affects them in all different ways. It's just a great space to learn about certain skill sets, about interventions and evaluations. We think about public health theoretically, but what can we do? Where is the action? And that is what the skill set we're hoping and planning to provide for you all.
Yeah, and what's cool that you mentioned the skill set is like one of the skill sets that's really highlighted in this program, I think, is communication, and it's so important. So public health is all about practicing good science, right? But you have to be able to communicate that science to the communities, right? To help inform people, help people make the right decisions, whether it's behaviorally or anything like that. And as we know very well, that there's a lot of misinformation as well out there about health and about public health. So to be able to communicate effectively, soundly, practice good science, and effectively, you're going to learn that in this program.
Great, thank you guys. A couple of small housekeeping questions. How are the recommendation letters sent, and how old can a recommendation letter be?
You want me to take that one?
Sure.
Okay. So Matt had talked about us moving from the SOFAS application to a SLATE application, and it works actually the same way as far as letters of recommendation. So you will go into that application that you've started. You are going to identify the 3 people that you want to write you letters of recommendation. You put in their email address. SLATE will actually send them an email and tell them you're asking for a letter of recommendation. Make sure you give a deadline. I always recommend 2 weeks max. If you're asking the right people, they are busy people, they are responsible people, but they need to know that it's not endless, because they're just going to get sidetracked. So 2-week window. And what they'll do is they'll actually submit their letter of recommendation right back to your application, and we're notified when that shows up. So you don't touch it. That keeps the integrity of that letter of recommendation. And honestly, it's really easy. You don't have to do much except identify the people and their contact information.
Talking through that July 15th deadline, students are allowed to submit their application before the letters of recommendation, correct?
That is correct. Yes, you do have to identify those people, and you have to list them off, and you have to submit your personal statement, at least your unofficial transcripts, and your resume or CV. But you don't have to have those letters of recommendation to come in order for you to submit the application in time. That's correct.
Great. And then when do we anticipate students can receive feedback from the early July 15th decision?
So our turnaround time, we try to make decisions between 4 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And just know it's rolling admissions. So it's not like they're going to hold, correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but we tell everybody rolling admissions. So it's not like they're holding on to applications and waiting to certain deadlines, like the early action deadline of July 15th or the priority deadline or the final deadline. They are reviewing application packets as they come through.
Correct. Right. Right. And then if, let's say that you're applying for the spring, but then realize, oh, life, we know life happens. You can defer. You can defer to the next, to the fall semester.
Okay, great. Thank you. A couple of questions about English Canadian transcripts. They require a WES eval. The SOFAS application required that. Is that now, now that we moved to SLATE, is that still required for an application? Sorry, I kind of stumbled over that. Do we still require a WES eval for Canadian English transcripts?
My understanding is yes. Is that correct, Jen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What fields of work would qualify one to apply for this program?
So again, I want to highlight the interdisciplinary just students that we do have. So there's not one specific industry. Of course, we do have folks that have more a health background, a clinical background, but we really want to bring in students that have different kinds of work experience outside of health. We as a program, as a school, really want to have these type of interdisciplinary conversations so that public health is touching different industries and is embedded in different industries, that folks will bring these skill sets and expertise to their respective industries. So it's not limited, is what I'm trying to say. If you are thinking about, or if you've ever thought about health inequities, is if you see that in your communities and you want to learn more about that and figure out, why is that happening? How do I be part of, how do I learn about certain skill sets to help tackle that? How do I think about it systemically, structurally? Those are the kind of theoretical frameworks we provide you, as well as skill sets on how to tackle them.
Kind of going to workload a little bit, Jen, as you're working through this degree. Does the degree require someone who works full-time to lower their workload to be successful in the program?
So really good question, all good questions, but I know time is very important and time is limited. But I don't want to sugarcoat it either. It is a graduate degree. And so on average, we have estimated per course, so 2 courses is considered full-time. Per course is about dedication of about 12 to 14 hours per course. So that's about 24 hours. And that can change, weekly based on like what's due that week, if there's a midterm, but on average about 12 hours of dedication per course, in terms of reading, in terms of going through your assignments, going through the case study, joining on the Zoom meeting to meet with your peers as well as a faculty member. So I do want to stress that out. There is a time commitment to this program, as other graduate programs.
Let me just piggyback on what Jen is saying, because that's very normal as far as the time commitment for a master's program. That is incredibly normal. I think one of the benefits is that this program does not require that you have to travel to Rhode Island for any period of time during the program. You will be working in your own community. You're going to be taking these concepts and skills and applying them to your situation or the community around you. So you're not taking time off to have to travel to Rhode Island like a lot of schools require. If you've been doing your research, you're going to find that when they say it's online, it's not fully online. This one is completely online. So that, 24 hours, 20 to 25 hours, maybe some weeks are a little bit more of a commitment. That's what you're going to find in any good, strong master's program. So you got to expect that.
Mm-hmm.
Another question around scholarships. Can we talk a little bit more about those? There's a question about the criteria for the 100% scholarship. How do they tailor their application or personal statement to reflect the financial need? What are the suggestions on that?
I mean, let's be honest, 100%, if you want 100% merit-based scholarship, it has to be a very strong application. I don't know how else. I mean, it has to be, and this is your time to brag about yourself. Tell us why you're a very strong candidate. And then also in your personal statement, you can mention that, you would, why, I think I saw the question that, or the comment about, having a lot of loans. And so therefore, it may be this, even though we do think our price point is competitive, we still know 60K is a lot. We understand that. We know that. And if you want to work that into your personal statement about, some of your financial concerns, that's okay too. We will read your statement. But again, to the criteria for 100% scholarship, we do a holistic review. We obviously compare your application compared to the other apps, right? And so kind of make a determination based on this pool of applicants, who's getting 100%, who's getting 50%, and who's getting 33% scholarships. All I can really say is bring your bring the strongest application that you can bring to us.
I'll make a quick plug too for our PhD programs. So our PhD programs that are in person here, they don't require a master's degree to apply to them, and they're all guaranteed fully funded. So if you want a guaranteed fully funded program, you can apply to one of our PhD programs that has a 5-year guarantee, and we cover tuition, provide stipends, and health insurance. That being said, they're super duper competitive. And, I think Kim mentioned like around a 50% acceptance rate, whereas our PhD programs are less than 10% acceptance rate. So I'll throw that in there.
Some questions focusing on outcomes after graduation. So what kind of support does Brown give their students to set them up for success in positions, whether they're in the industry or practicums or public health research? Can you guys talk a little bit about that?
Matt, can you talk about the career office?
Yeah. I mean, we have a super dope career services department within the School of Public Health, advising sessions, events. We've got a huge, part of being part of an Ivy League school is the network that you have. We have incredible alumni that come back and help current students. And then, of course, we have Brown, you have access to all the resources that Brown University has as a whole. So it's not just the School of Public Health, but it's like the career lab and all of the connections that Brown University has. So, I think the program is still really young. So I don't know. I don't think that we have any numbers, but if you want to compare to the other, I think we have like a 97% of our master's students have postgraduate plans within the next 12 months. So it's a really great, we set you up. And then the ROI is really good too. Brown University's ranked 3rd within return on your investment as far as like your debt to income ratio after Brown.
Thank you very much. One question coming from someone who, if someone was denied admissions to a previous cohort, what can they do to improve their application if they choose to apply again?
Well, that's a good question. So I would get in touch with our enrollment coach to really talk, to kind of look through the app together. And Kim, I'm just speaking on your behalf. Could a student, an applicant that got denied, come back and reach out to your team and say, let's look through your app. Let's see where we can maybe highlight more strengths, or maybe there's some gaps that you missed and then reapply. It could be oftentimes, let me just share this. Oftentimes we deny really based on lack of work experience. We do count those hours. We do see those hours. We look at your resume. We look at the application. It's about 4,000 hours, at least 4,000 hours to be considered to work 2 years full time. And so just off the bat, if we don't see that, our faculty are going to vote to deny.
And can I ask a question that's a follow-up to that question? Are qualitative or quantitative abilities important for the online MPH? And if so, is there a way that they can boost their application on those fronts?
I love that you asked that, Matt. So yes, we because we teach epidemiology and biostatistics, we want it'll make your application stronger if you have some kind of background, some kind of math background. If you don't, though, you can take a Coursera course. If you can show us a certificate for a Coursera course that you've taken in biostats or epi, that will help. That will bring your application a long way. Just because we again, as we've said earlier, we want to set you up for success. We don't want you to come into the program and be like, I didn't even know anything about biostatistics. This is such a challenging class for me. I have no idea how I got it. What this course is about. By getting some background in it, will really set you up for success in the program, but also even beforehand, just putting that in your application that you've done some legwork to take a course or a certificate around biostats or epi.
So just to clarify, Jen, can you count volunteer and internship experiences in a field of focus into your professional work experience?
So I see volunteer and internship, particularly in undergrad. It's kind of, we really want you to have worked in the I don't want to say like real, we're out there. Like we really, really weigh more heavily folks that it's not like we don't count it, but we definitely would rather see work experience after undergrad. But you know what? There are cases, and I was a student when I was undergrad. I also had to work during undergrad. I had to, I had no choice. I had to be able to pay bills, and we count that. We count that if you've worked during undergrad, but if it's volunteer or internship, I will say we will weigh out the actual work experience more than the internship volunteer experience.
Great, thank you so much. A couple more questions, then we'll wrap up here. We have a comment from an attendee. Life happens sometimes. What if you don't finish in the time allotted in the 2 years, or you have to drop out after second semester? Is that an option to defer and come back to continue where you left off?
Of course. So we really built this program for the full-time employee in mind. So or that you also life happens, you have family and things happen. And so if you can either take a leave of absence for a semester and then start right back up, you can go part-time, which instead of 2 courses, take 1 course. We would create a customized plan of study for you so that you would, yes, it would take longer than 2 years, but if life happens, we will work with you. You just have to tell us. You just have to tell us so that we can weigh out different options, whether it's taking a leave of absence, maybe talking to your professor about giving you certain extensions, or maybe going from full-time to part-time status.
Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but they do have to complete everything, including all the requirements within 5 years, right?
Within 5 years, yes.
Okay.
5 year is the cutoff, yes.
Okay.
We wouldn't want you dragging a master's program for, longer than that, for sure, right? Yeah.
Right. One final question. When the application asks for an undergraduate GPA, if the person's last degree was a graduate degree, should they put the undergraduate GPA or the graduate GPA?
Both.
Both. Okay.
We need to see that we will look at both transcripts.
Wonderful. Thank you both, or thank you all so much for your insight and answering all of those amazing questions we had from the participants. I love how engaged this group was. It was definitely enjoyable and definitely very thought-provoking with some of the questions that were asked. So thank you.
Yeah, great questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple upcoming deadlines. As a reminder, that priority deadline is September 15th. We already talked about early decision being July 15th. And the final deadline for spring 24 is going to be October 15th. Again, we have that at rolling admissions, and then we will kick off these classes in January 2024. Again, if any questions didn't get answered today, we will be following up with an email with the recording of this webinar, as well as please contact Kim and her team at any time to get answers to your questions. Thank you, presenters, so much for joining us today and sharing your infinite wisdom. And again, thank you to all the participants that came to learn more about the program.
Thanks, everyone, for coming. Hope to
Thank
see
you
in January. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.